Hello,
Hey, Go Church Liverpool launch team. You guys are amazing.
my name is Matt,
And I'm Julie.
and we are speaking to you from Beirut, Lebanon.
We are the senior pastors of Go Church Beirut.
And the question was posed, what do I wish someone had told me before we started really gaining ground and momentum here? And I think that's an important question. I actually just had this conversation with someone that is looking at starting a group-centered church, and this is what I told them. I said, first you want to make sure this is the direction from the Lord, and then the very next thing to do is don't start a church. And that seems counterintuitive, but here's what I mean by that. When we began, our emphasis was building the team necessary to launch the church. And it took me some time to understand that while ministry was very much in my heart and I had a very urgent need to reach out and share the love and life of Jesus with people, the first step to launching a successful church is not launching a church, but building the launch team.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the difference, and while it may seem like that's a semantic thing, the difference really is this. You can start doing ministry immediately. Anyone can do that. But a church is an entity that has a life of its own, and that life should extend beyond the life and direct input of the founding or lead pastors. And so building a team is really about building the structure, if it's a body, like the skeleton that then is what grows and develops and matures. And understanding the difference, or that delineation, the dividing out, the separating between I'm doing ministry versus I'm building a team of people that have a vision to plant or launch a church. Then the second point to that, and probably equally important, is the vision and the vision of the church is not something that we can ever assume people understand. And the only way to kind of to make sure that we get the vision shared with people that need to know it is by constantly repeating it. And constantly repeating it is not me repeating it, but asking other people to constantly repeat it. And figuring out ways to relate everything we do back to the vision. Figuring out a way to, okay, if we're going to have this kind of gathering, or we're going to have this kind of group, how does this fit within the vision? And then verbalizing and talking about it. Yeah. One of the things I really celebrate here in Beirut is the number of people that can say back to us the vision of Go Church Beirut, but not like they're answering a question, but rather in expressing what they do and why they do it. And the third point that I would make is really knowing the why. It's easy to understand when you're going to start a church. A church is going to have meetings. It's going to have gatherings. There's going to be preaching and teaching. There's going to be times of worship, giving of offerings, taking communion. People are going to get prayed for. Their lives are going to be rescued and changed and set on the plan and path of God for their life. That's the what. And we can talk about how we're going to do that. We're going to meet at this time. We're going to meet at this location. But what is very important from the very beginning is to really understand why you are doing it and why you're doing it now. That might be an easy question for me to answer, but I can never assume that everyone in the room with me has the same why as me. And so when I'm talking about getting started, when I'm talking about, when we were first gathering and building our launch team, what I wish I had knew then was not everyone knew why we were doing it. And at some point I realized that there were people that were coming to all of our launch team meetings. They were engaged in everything we were doing, but their why was because I said it was important, or because we said this is what needs to be done. And when we made the shift where we shared our why are we doing this? Why are we corporately doing this together? And our why became theirs. They took the responsibility, and they began carrying the weight of what we were doing. So the what and the how was driven by that shared why.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said, of course, because he's amazing.
Wow.
But I think the practical side...
Working of miracles.
Working of miracles. The practical side that I've seen so many people ask the question, well, how do we build a team? How do we get people engaged? What do we do? And, we can look at the example of Jesus, because Jesus, Spirit-led, right? He came alongside of ordinary people in different stages of life and different backgrounds. And he said, hey, come with me, and I'm going to make you into something. And by doing that, Jesus didn't limit anyone, didn't put anyone in a box, but he saw the gift of God in them. And Jesus's focus was developing that and drawing that out of them. So when you're in a room full of people and you're looking around and you see all of these able bodies, don't be discouraged that they're not all running to you to come and serve, because they're waiting for you to come and tap them on the shoulder the same way Jesus did. Jesus could have easily walked by all of these people, all of the disciples, and none of them been engaged. But because he went to them and he asked them, hey, I see this in you. Will you use this gift to come and serve alongside me? We see the gospel spread everywhere.
Yeah.
And another thing that I would say is, when we go fishing, we clean our fish after we catch them. That's kind of like, we think about that when we have people come into the church, is that, we're not expecting the saved to come in already ready and prepared. And they come into the service like fully, batteries included. But there's this process of development, this process of preparation, cleaning, removing old sin thoughts and ways of behaving, and kind of stepping into that righteousness mentality. And so that's what we also have to think about, of those people that we're developing, because we could be calling them into things that they're gifted towards. They have the calling for it, but they've never done it before. They have no idea what they're doing. And so we have to have that patience and that grace to help them walk in the fullness of what God's calling them to do. And that's our job as leaders. As we're building a launch team, that launch team is a team of people that we see that can help carry weight in the ministry. And our biggest goal, the most important thing that should be for us, is to keep our eyes lifted up and looking for people that we can engage and have join and be a part.
Yeah, that's really well said. One of the greatest things that we as leaders can do for people is believe in them.
Yeah.
The Bible says in 1 Corinthians 13 that love thinks no evil. Mm-hmm. And when you apply that, not just in a negative sense, but in a positive sense, from a point of view of leaders building teams, rather than looking and saying, this person can't do that because they're too busy, this person can't do that because they're too disinterested. Instead, believe in them, believe the best of them, and speak to the person that you want them to be, mm-hmm. and call them into that place. Literally, with words and actions, call them into that place of being who God's made them. And Jesus, the example that you made, is a brilliant way to look at this, because the people that Jesus engaged would easily be dismissed, and perhaps even disqualified. Mm-hmm. And yet he prioritized developing them
Yeah.
even over the like instant accomplishment of what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so that's moving at the speed at which we can develop people around us. So how fast can we grow? Well, how fast are people willing to grow?
Yes.
And that is that starts with us as leaders individually making the decision to develop, change, and emerge into who God's called us to be as individuals,
Absolutely.
and then calling those people around us into that higher place. Those are a few of the things that came to our mind in response to this question. And our hope is that this is a help to you. And if you didn't know it, you have friends in Beirut, and we're happy to be helpful to you in any way we can. God
We
bless
love you guys.
Love you.